little bit differently today. So, hand up high. Who's never heard of Michael DePeazer before? And that's not a bad thing. It's okay. I'm just curious. Never heard of? Never heard of? Great. Okay. Yeah. Who's worked with Michael DePeazer before? Hands up now. Who trained Michael DePeazer? Come on, there's somebody here. I'm stealing part of his thunder, but I think your name's Jenny Zelak, but I think that's part of your bio piece. But why don't we, Matthew? Yeah, let's switch it up. Let's welcome Michael DePeazer. Happy to have him today. Big round of applause, guys. We'll get the handouts out.
Yeah, please, if we can start now, that would be great.
Okay, awesome.
While Mark's passing out the handouts, I just kind of want to set the stage and the expectations for today. It's not going to be a rah-rah kubasa session, information sells itself. So I'm just going to really share a few concepts that I picked up along the way that people tend to grasp and kind of see within them some of this change. I mean, it was already said that, we just got to kind of look within for some of these answers, if we can be better ourselves, everything around us changes. So I'm going to share some insights around that today. I first want to thank everyone for showing up today, honestly. You know what, I'm going to talk about courage and confidence and where it fits in this world. And for me to come up here today, first time in front of a group this size, it's straight confidence, heavy courage. But it's going to lead to confidence. So I want to always encourage everyone in this room, you're going to have to push yourself a little bit. But when you do, you're going to see that always on the other side of that push, you're going to see the light. So I want to share some concepts. So throughout these meetings over the next month or years, it's going to be focused a lot on practical stuff that you can apply. A lot of breakout sessions, and I believe that, information without application, I like to say it's a joke. But to be more kind, information without application is really just information. So I'm going to learn how to apply some of these concepts. I generally don't like to stand up here talking while everyone's looking at me talking. I want you to take something from today. So it's going to be largely focused on me doing a lot of the talking, but I have these action sheets that are passed around. And the idea with this sheet here is you're going to hear some information that steers something in your brain. The idea is to just write it down, what interests you. And maybe a little brief plan on how you're going to attack this in the future and when you're going to start. Because when you put stuff on paper, honestly, this universe, when you make the first step, resources tend to show up. And you'll see from my examples what role we play as individuals in this whole auto industry. I believe in life, if you actually work on healing yourself, everything around you changes. Best way to describe it, we're like a helium balloon. We're always floating up in the air, but we have these limitations and these limiting beliefs that hold us down. So hopefully I'm going to be able to have you share some concepts that you can reflect inside to release some of these attachments that we have so we can naturally be the amazing humans that we're destined to be. So let's start off. I'm going to talk a little history about me, but before we start, let's set some expectations. Not a product knowledge learning course today. There's not going to be a lot of interaction per se today. The idea is for you to focus on the information, and it's like in the office. There's no sale to be made here. There's no sale to be made in the office. If somebody shares information, you have to reflect it against what you currently know, and then you'll see some areas where, okay, that's interesting. I want you to hone in on those areas. So this is not about me speaking here. This is about you guys getting something from this. I only want to provide value. So that being said, recognize this course belongs to you. It's your course. So whatever you could grab from here, consider it. Remember, the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. So if you're going to take information today, store it in your brain, and not apply some of it, I mean, what's the point, right? I have a debate with my brother. He likes to buy a book every week, almost. He's reading books and books and books. I always say if we just stopped all reading, stopped any additional information, and actually applied what we already know, life would change. So just consider this compiling of information. It's like a coffee cup that's spilling over with coffee. We need to drink the juice. So this is hopefully going to encourage you to do that. Keep an open mind and a positive attitude. That's really all it is. I mean, if you could have a positive attitude, you'll be open to a lot of different things. And again, once we hear it, we'll be able to reflect on it and see what's best for us. Keep asking yourself repeatedly, how can I apply this? How will it work for me? Again, this is not about me talking, it's about you taking something from this. If it's just about me talking, I didn't do a good job. So I hopefully someone can take something from this today. Ask questions to me. If you want to interrupt me, put your hand up in the sky, ask questions. This is what it's going to be about. It's about interaction. It's about getting involved and owning your own success. So let's talk a little bit about my history. I've been in the business for 18 years. Honestly, it's the best business in the world. It's absolutely incredible. There's nothing that replaces it. If you're outside your head. If you're inside your head, it could be the hardest, toughest job. My debate is the finance office is the easiest job in the world. There's no selling to be had. There's just information to share, and if you share the right concepts, people will hear those concepts and they can see how they need it. We all know what's best for us in this room. So if someone comes and says, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, we'll all question it. But if someone shares some ideas of what's out there, you'll look at it and say, okay, that's interesting, I could grab this. So that's the same with a client and a customer, same with this session, I'm just going to share some information so the idea is just to reflect. So 18 years, awesome story. I graduated from University of Manitoba with a commerce degree in 2004. Couldn't find a job. Nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. They want practical skills. Practical skills. They don't want you. So I went to the car business. I thought it was a temporary stop. I'm not a car guy. Well, I started selling cars at Destination Mazda at the time for 5 years. I really loved it. I got to suit up and queued up. Who doesn't like that, right? And I got to sell cars, and I felt that this is not a slimy industry. It's actually very great. If you treat people well, you can sell cars, make money. So one day I got a call from Don Saranchuk for the opportunity to be a finance manager. So I jumped in my car, went down to Winnipeg Honda. He says, yeah, this is the opportunity. There's your office right there. I didn't know nothing about this job, guys, at my store. You know, we didn't have a heavy hitter there. I just thought it was a bunch of paperwork. But what I knew, it was evolve. It was evolution for me. I'm going to talk about this because we're all used to this dark zone being over there, somewhere over there. Whenever we do something, we're always having a contingency plan, worried what we're going to see, not knowing that where we are today is the dark forest. You know, we talk about not being uncomfortable. We want to stay in our comfort zone. How comfortable is where we are today? Not so comfortable. But I want to offer you to look at your own life and look at the times where you actually jumped into that dark zone and look what it offered you. Hope, inspiration, newness. You got to know what you're capable of. So we're all capable of beyond measure until we dive in and jump into these dark zones. We're never going to know that. So it's imperative that you push yourself. So funny story. 2004, started at Winnipeg Honda, Judy Zulak. She's the first person. She's a legend. I call her the queen of finance, but that's between us. So whoever thinks they're the queen, that's okay. But my experience was great because she very much took me in her arms, showed me the process, and I appreciate it to this day. As a matter of fact, a lot of times when I see it, that's the first thing I talk about. So that's one piece of the story, but it's a combination here, and I can see why they're together. Don Saranchuk was, back in that day, let's just say loose cannon. He's better now, well, we all change, right? But that's what people will describe him as, a loose cannon. So I always refer to this. The difference between pressure and persistence is technique. I was all pressure on the customers. You know, my enthusiasm, too loud, and customers would complain about me, CSI wasn't looking good, guys, Don wanted me on the chopping block. Dave Zulak had to save my life, basically. He had to convince him otherwise to give me another chance. So honestly, I don't know if I'd be in business to this day because I don't know if I'd have the juice. So because someone believed in me, they gave me the opportunity to grow. So just consider, who are we believing in our stores? These salespeople are hustling and grinding? Are we giving them the not so great end of the stick, or are we inspiring everyone we meet? So always consider that. If you could get to listen to somebody and understand somebody, you'll heal them just by being a listener and seeing what's important to them. So 18 years in the business, been an awesome transition. 2017, so I left Honda in 2018, 2019. But in 2017, I took a life coaching course. The reason why, I need growth. I'm not about the money. I'm about going into the dark zone. I'm about evolving. I have a deathbed theory, literally. I fast forward myself to my end of my life. I look at my current state, and I say, regardless of how much money I'm making, what am I going to say when I die? And what was it about? It was about, I need new experiences. So what did this mean? I took this life coaching course just to better myself. And what did this mean? I'm going to encourage you guys, educate yourself, better yourself. When you do that, opportunity comes. I took it just for my personal self, not to apply it anything, to understand people, not knowing that my business foundation is based on marrying the mindset with the technical aspects of the business, and it creates a magic because people get empowered, they believe and they actually see their true nature, and then it could be built off that. So I took that just to better myself. 2019-20, that's when I left Winnipeg Honda, 2019. I created my own training program. I believe so deeply in it. I asked people their opinion about it. They couldn't really reflect too much on what the possibilities are. So Auto Canada, they were going down at that time. They were almost dissolved, but Michael Rowell took it over. Every department got refinanced. They hired me to run the whole finance department, literally full control of everything. My program material, everything. They flew people to Winnipeg 2 at a time for me to train. I trained over 114 people. They flew them all to Winnipeg 2 at a time. So I like to inspire people and help people grow, but share practical skills, and you're going to see more of that throughout the time. So my experience here had me to test my training process around 114 people. Their numbers became the number one. They were about 3,200. They're publicly traded companies, so they run my program to this day. The reason why I started F&I Masters, because nobody could curb this enthusiasm. You know, my heart's in it. I could be loud, but I'm very passionate. And if I have somebody who's controlling this enthusiasm, it's really hard for me because I'm a creator. So I like to create, but the people who I have in mind is everybody in this room. When I do any training sessions, I get feedback from all the people who I train. Why? Because what you say matters. When you see the feedback forms, I read them all. And anything that's consistent is what I change and I alter. So I'm here really for you guys to support you and see you grow. So let's talk about this. Let's dive in. Before we start, I want to just read some words of wisdom that I picked up along the way. So along my journey, I'm always known to be a person who grasps on certain concepts, and I love to share them. So I have some words of wisdom that I'm going to read. And as I read it, just reflect on it. The idea is, see where your mind's going. Follow what the flow is. But when I read these, just see how true they are too. Ideas mean nothing. And you all have this sheet in front of you. Ideas mean nothing, zero, zilch. Execution is the only thing that matters. It's not what you thought you were going to do, it's about what you did. So think of these times when we're not accountable, or we say we're going to do something and we don't do anything, and think of the results that come after. So again, just remember, we're going to be thinking, we're going to be hearing some stuff today. We're going to be, oh, that's cool, that's neat. But what are we going to do with it? That's the only thing that matters. So just consider that. You spend the entire time in your head, let's make it a nice place. If we treated people the way we treat ourselves, we'd be all locked up, right? So I'm going to share some techniques, how we can relieve that stress, give ourselves some grace. In today's digital first world, the greatest skills you can leverage is the power of focused attention. And that's the way, how do you build that? Not only through daily meditation, through following your processes every day. You can't get better if you're not doing the same thing every day in different ways, different framework. So just consider, what are you doing every day? What are you focused on? Whatever you focus on will grow. The grass is greener where you water it, not on the other side. So I just want to make sure we're again, hearing this information, reflecting in our own brain. Not about me just talking here, it's about you hearing some concept and reflecting to what's already in your mind. You have to believe in yourself before anyone else does. This is a cornerstone upon which confidence was built, and this was already spoken about today. If you don't believe in yourself, who will? And think of the time you did believe in yourself and think of what happened. I wish everyone would understand you're capable beyond measure. It's only what we tell ourselves literally becomes facts. Hopefully we can debug some of that stuff. And the life you experience is simply a reflection of your mindset. What does this mean? The things we see, the way we react, it means there's something inside. Just something we need to adjust, something we need to change. And once we are aware of it, we can do some of those changes, which, as we move forward, I'm going to describe some of those. Consistency versus intensity. It's not about doing a 24-hour workout. It's about inch by inch every day, and it stacks up. We're going to talk about that as well. I call that compound efforts. It's not about more in a day. It's about less, but things that stack up. It's like compound interest. Master your emotions. A calm mind can handle any storm. If you could, instead of just reacting, if you could sit back, pause, look at the hybrid of the whole landscape before you react, you'll see life change. You'll see life will change. So the idea is, what's the return on investment when we react a certain way and we get upset, but then we're at home thinking about what we did. So we're going to talk about how to relieve some of that stuff. And don't be lazy, do the work. You can't grow from easy. Somebody tell me, you know, it's an interesting concept because a lot of times I hear this term, that's not easy. Yeah, that's not easy. What worthwhile is easy? So we don't want to wish that there's no challenges in this world. We want to wish that we gain new skills, and that often will come through these challenges. And you never lose if you never quit. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You fall down, keep going. My last 3 years could have been a disaster if my mind wasn't right. But I kept going and kept going. And you see how these challenges, all they're doing is building you new skills so you can get to that next place in life that you need to be. And the last one, accept people for who they are. You know, we're not trying to change people. Let's accept them for who they are. And that makes life a little easier. Why do I say that? Well, we're one person out of 7 billion, 8 billion. What does this mean? We have one experience. So when you think of our one experience, everybody else's is different. So how can we expect people to conform to our one experience when everyone's different? But if we accept them, we get to learn from them. We get to pull from them. And it becomes one of our own experiences. So these are the 4 things that I'm going to mainly talk. There's going to be a little interaction today. But just remember this action sheet, please. Just for yourself. If you find something that's useful, do take notes. It's just for yourself, personal. It's not for me. And then after, I'm going to ask for a little evaluation. If everyone will kindly fill it out. I'm going to start my timer here, make sure I'm on time. Just so we can get some feedback, so future sessions I can adapt to some of the stuff you guys want to hear. These are the topics I'm going to address today. Again, why do I do this first? It's easy to share training techniques, objection handling, and frameworks, processes. However, we have to make sure everyone's mind's on the same page. How do you build off of people who know different things? So we're going to make sure that we understand a few things and how we are at the wheel of our success. So I'm going to answer this question. Where are we all today, individually? Where are we today and how did we end up here? You know, sometimes we hear, hey, how did I end up here? Why me? Why me? So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what's that dark, invisible force that keeps holding us back, you know? How many of us want progress here? With a show of hands. Everybody wants progress? Okay, I believe that's naturally true. But what holds us back? We all want more, but why aren't we always getting more? We're going to talk about that. How do I regain the control? So now that I know what's holding me back, how do I get control today? Like literally today. How do I start getting back on track? We're going to address that. And last but not least, do I have what it takes? Because you know what, honestly, the belief in ourselves is really the biggest component to this all. It's the biggest, largest component to this all. So I'm going to share some concepts that allow us to see we are capable. You just are we committed? We're capable. So the unique thing about me is I don't use big words. You know, I use chopped up language. However, it keeps everything understandable. It's not going to be any high level concepts. It's going to be something you can understand and you can apply and you could see yourself. And once you can see yourself, then we can get that change. Okay, so where are we today and how did we end up here? My argument is their life is designed to spec. It's designed to specifications. You literally design your life. And the idea is, where should you be? It's where you are right now. How many times do we hear this? How did I end up here? How did I end up here? Well, the question is, where were you going? That is the big question. It's not how did you end up here, it's where were you going? You failed to plan or you planned to fail. I like this airport analogy because it makes things simple. I'm going to be a little interactive here. So just imagine you close your eyes, okay? You go to Winnipeg International Airport, you have a dog holding you around. You're feeling around to different planes. They're just letting you choose a random plane. So you're feeling around, you go into to the first gate that's open, and you find yourself on a random plane. Where are you going to end up? Anybody? It's random. So leaving from Winnipeg, imagine leaving from Winnipeg. You ain't ending up in Hawaii. There's connecting flights. So you leave from Winnipeg, you probably end up similar or somewhere worse to where you're at. It's hardly a destination, but what if I went to the airport and I bought a ticket to Hawaii? Where am I going to end up? Right. It's quite obvious, right? So we ask ourselves, how did I end up here? Ask, where were we going? And you know how simple life is? If you just have an intention and you know what you want, you start to attract the things that you want in life. So again, you have to ask yourself, where were you headed And when you look at your circumstance, you could see that those who had goals in place, those who had aspirations, those who just had an idea one day. I had an idea I wanted to be a finance coach and trainer, and I told Melissa Fooey that I just didn't even know how to get there. Until circumstance, you find that circumstance will shake you up and do all the things, and you find out you get what you ask for. If you rewind yourself 5 years ago and look where, or a few years ago and look where you are today, you dreamt this one day. It was a dream. So we gotta keep dreaming. So just remember, keep setting those destinations. And how do you keep yourself in check? Set unquestionable standards. We are not our greatest aspirations. We are our minimum standards. It doesn't sound so great, does it? No, it sounds horrible. But let's look at our life. Look at our bank account. Certain amount of dollars that we're used to having in there. Okay? What happens when those dollars go down? Do you feel good? You don't feel good. But it drives change now. Let's get our resources up. I want to get that money back to where it's used to be. No problem. When it goes higher than that average that we're used to, we're spending money on random things we don't necessarily need. So, but we're used to the happy minimum. Look at our homes. Certain level of cleanliness gets too dirty. Guys, this place is a pigsty. Let's clean it up. Too clean? We're throwing a jacket here. We're throwing keys there. You can see, right? So how does this relate to the finance office? You gotta set goals. If you don't have goals, it's crazy, because here's what happens. If you're comfortable in the finance office, there's problems. If you're comfortable in life, there's problems, because comfort doesn't offer nothing but complacency. Here's a perfect example. If you made your goal to be $3,000 average, okay? End of the month, it's less than $3,000, you're not gonna feel so good. Because you don't feel good, you know what's that gonna do? It's gonna drive change. Okay, look, maybe I should get some training, maybe I should see what this person's doing over there. Look at that, look at that. Now imagine you don't have a goal, everything's good. And you know why that's not good? Because at the end of the month you see your results and it's like, oh, how did this happen? If you knew where you were, if you knew 3K was your limit, I tell you right now, when a customer says no, you will fight that no. You have some reason, right? So set a goal for yourself. Know that uncomfortable is the best thing you could have. Because honestly, we always say, I don't want to be my uncomfortable zone. As if this is comfortable what we're living today. It's scary. So don't take my word for it. Look in your own life, and look at all the times you went into that, quote, uncomfortable zone. What happened? We wouldn't be here today in the best job in the world. So just remember, what's this uncomfortable zone versus what we're in? This is the only zone that offers you hope, inspiration. I couldn't know if I'm capable of it if I didn't jump to these different things. I didn't even know I had it in me until you push yourself. So we're going to talk about how confidence comes into place, but the big question is, where are you going? So show of hands, how many people in here have goals? Okay, so we have goals. This is always good. And we're going to talk about how to achieve some of these goals. So let's move forward and go to the next slide, because we want to focus on this. So we all have goals, right? But something keeps holding us back. We all want more, but sometimes we don't see it. We don't see the world how it is, we see the world how we are. Which is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Because if you see a conflict, it's within. And if you work on within, you naturally float higher. If you reduce the limitations within, you naturally don't get involved in the conflicts that drag you down and that negative energy. So before we move on, I want to talk about this job and say, what do you do with the garden that's entrusted in you? This job is the best in the world. Could you believe this? I don't know a better job. You have your own office, you have your own computer, you have your own inventory of cars, you have your own salespeople, you have your own body shop, you have your own general managers, you have your own service department. All you have to do is sit in the office and maximize. And then we're sitting in there on our cell phone. Do we know what we have in our hands? So we're going to talk about this, because it's this perception versus reality that sometimes gets involved. Because when we set goals, we think it's like A to B, right? I set a goal of 3K. I didn't hit 3K. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Not knowing that to get 3K, you need feedback. So this is how it really looks. It doesn't look cute. Look at your lives. It doesn't look cute. For you to get here today, it didn't have to look cute. Because you need challenges. Without challenges, how do you up-level your skills to be ready for this show? So if I'm selling cars, for instance, and I want to be a general manager, If they took me from there to be a general manager, I'd flunk. You kidding me? So, but if I go through the challenges and I become resilient, then when you're the GM, you can handle the heat. So just remember, life is going to give us these challenges so we can build and we can handle the destination that we need. So when you see a challenge, don't wish for no challenges. Wish to develop new skills, and challenges are the only way that offers that. So life doesn't give challenges or problems, only opportunities. We have to decide. Today is really about information going up. We all know things. Our mind's going to be wandering. Let it wander for a week, let it wander for a month. Because a lot of this stuff is you're going to see in your day-to-day activities how we do have some say. So perception versus reality. Our deepest fear is not that we're weak. Our deepest fear is to basically know what we're capable of. You know? It's our light, not our darkness that frightens us the most. It's almost, we say to ourselves like, who am I to be brilliant? Who am I to be good? Well, that's not for me. That's not for me. So we have to really consider who we are. We're capable beyond measure. What we tell ourselves is the actual facts. How many people do we know have potential out there that, this person has a lot of potential? Unfortunately, potential doesn't mean much. What you believe about yourself means everything. So we're going to make sure to keep ourselves on ourselves. Don't worry about the person across the street. Heal yourself. Everything else will change. Dream killers. Fear. Ooh. Fear. Pandemic. Anybody who focused on their day-to-day didn't affect them really. So consider this. Doesn't matter what's going around you. It's what you're doing today that matters. It doesn't matter what tomorrow brings. If you do everything that you should be doing today, things will blossom. But again, if we focus on these things, we're going to think the world's a harsh place and think it's out of our control, not knowing that what we did today is out of our control. Someone says, hey, things didn't happen for me. Well, what did you do today? Watch Seinfeld, I had to relax, right? That's what happened. Things did happen. So just be careful. Now, to put it in perspective, it's not to have a busy day. I'm not saying have a busy day. 1 or 2 things a day that compound over time. Whether it be your fitness, okay, and your execution, 100% of the products, 100% of the time, 100% of the customers. If you just do those every day, guess what? Your skills get better in those areas every day. And say you did nothing else all day, your skills get better every day in that area. But here's the issue is, we're doing random stuff today, random processes, we don't have a process, we're doing something random with this customer, random with this customer, and nothing's growing. Well, randomness is growing. So you get what I'm saying? It's not more, it's less is more, but it's intentions that matter. What are we currently feeding? Again, self-doubt, conflict, or is it goals, productivity, positivity, self-development. The thinking, actions, and procedures that got us where we are today
will not take you where you want to go tomorrow.
So we got to start picking up ourselves. And it's not about getting more actions and procedures per se. It's about putting things in action, guys. I'm no different from you. I do this because I feel a higher calling. So I have to really influence and inspire people to know what they're capable of. That's really what I feel my job is. So again, I'm doing this. This is not confidence, it's courage. And that's going to be one of the next slides. We're going to really dive into that. But one thing, let's not fool ourselves. Blue pill or red pill, period. There's always a pain. You ain't going to skip it. Here's a beautiful thing. One of these pains will lead to fulfillment, self-growth. What does this mean? I don't want to do my workout. I'm tired. Let me go do it. Tie the shoes. I did this a lot when I started. Tie the shoes. My rule was once my shoes are tied up, I can't turn back. Tied up. Hammer out a set. How do you feel after? Judy, how do you feel after one of those days? You feel excellent. You feel like you achieved something, you overcame something. You're empowered, and it's gone. Well, when we skip a routine, guess what? It's worse because you have temporary relief. The next day you're thinking, oh, I skipped one. So you don't go again, oh, now that's 2. That's compiling. And you know what happens after that? You get back pain. You think back pain or any pain is anything other than what's in your thoughts? It's in your thoughts. It's on your thoughts. If you have a clean mindset, you ain't going to get sick, you ain't going to feel no pain. Right? So what happens is we avoid it and then it builds up, and then we don't feel good about ourselves. Self-doubt, like, man, I can't do anything. How many people do we know around us where they will not commit? We all have friends where you say, be here at a certain time, they'll never show up on time. It's like they'll never. We don't even believe in them when we set stuff over the future. How many of us believe is that's the same way for us? So if we don't hold on to these disciplines, could you believe we can't even believe in our own word? Imagine you telling yourself you're going to do something tomorrow knowing damn well you're not going to do it. So that's where the issues are. It's not outside of us. It's not the interest rates, it's not the ratings, it's not the traffic, it's not anything other than that. We maximize our opportunities and things will change. So pick the right pain, but if you don't pick it, it's selected. It's selected, guaranteed. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional though. It is very optional. Simple, not easy. So let's talk about this courage versus confidence, because I think it's a big one. Nobody has the confidence first. You gotta earn it. You gotta work for confidence. It's courage first. Always. What do I mean by this? Anything we start new, you might think you could do it, but you're not confident. You're like, we could call confident, but okay, I think I know that, I could give it a shot. Yeah, I'm ready to give it a shot. Guess what happens after you do it? You see what you actually did. It's like, wow, now you have confidence because you saw what you did. So it's super important to know that if you want to be ready, you ain't going to be ready. I'm not ready to get on top of this topic. I'm not ready to come in front of folks, but I do have the courage. And guess what? After I did my first session, I feel better for this session. So we have no choice. But we don't have to, but again, when we're one day on that bed, okay, thinking about what we could have did in life differently, why do we want to wait till that time? Because if I went to that day and I'm sitting on the deathbed, and I look back at what I didn't do, oh my gosh, I say, pull the plug right now. Pull the plug. So just remember that. We have an opportunity right now. Let's invest ourselves and use your own life references. Everything you took a step forward to blossomed. It did, or you learned a good lesson. There's no failure. There's only learning. Oh, did I get that last one there? Yeah, so take the first step, everything will follow. What I mean by that is literally look at your life when you took the first step, resources showed up. Always, always, always. Always, always. Okay. Is success for me? So this is basically, we're down to the very last few slides here. Is success for me? I want to answer that question, but I can't. I can tell you success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's courage. Courage. That counts. Is success for me? Answer this. Are you committed or are you interested? Because this job, there's no other job like this in the world. When you change your mind, your money changes instantly. If you change the way you deal with a customer, your check changes instantly. You could double your month. And this job is the easiest because there's no sale to be had. And once you understand that, you realize there's no sale of anything to be had. There's just information to share. And you can get the best out of someone just by sharing, being really transparent with them. So again, are you committed or are you interested? Only you could answer that question. But the big one is, do you have the courage to see yourself shine? Do you have the courage to see yourself ride high? Do you have the courage to be that person who you thought you weren't? Because that's all it is. That's all it really is when we break it down to the end of the day. Do you have what it takes? So before I end the slide, I just want to definitely remind you, those forms, very important for you to fill out, reflect on your own. They're just for yourself. There's also a feedback form that I have there that's very important because I don't rely on Mike. I have one experience. So what you guys tell me on that form, be as detailed as possible, allows to set the tone for future meetings. So this is a first meeting. Again, it's one way. I'm about interactive and practical only. I roll up my sleeves. Literally, I roll up my sleeves. So the next sessions, I'll be wearing more of a sport shirt because I get down and dirty. You should see my dance moves. But other than that, just a recap. What a recap is, again, we are where we are because of the decisions we make and where our mind's at. So let's try to make ourselves see more clear by adopting some of this information. But just know, it's all in you. The control is all with us. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Any feedback after is welcome. Namaste.
Thank you, Michael. And for the FSMs, guys, that have gone through Michael's 2-day, that is the significant difference that I've seen coming from a background of F&I supplier, and what the training looks like is that Michael really takes the time to roll up his sleeves and actually show you how to do it versus telling you how to do it, and that's kind of where we're going here. And today was kind of step one for you to, spend some time with Michael, get to know him, see the energy, see kind of where we're going, so that when we get into the future sessions, you kind of know where he's coming from in terms of what's possible, because really anything's possible. It's got to get out of our own heads. So thank you for that. Thank you, Michael. I would change. The only thing I would change, Kyle, is the hamster analogy. Michael the dog. I'm not sure about the hamster. My kids had a hamster, and I was thinking that thing was just going in the garden. You said the word bet. But let's take 10 minutes, and we'll come back. Okay. So thank you very much, guys.